I am fixing to actually read there's a book in here that goes to season 9. It goes to book 9 of Outlander. I forgot the lady's name that wrote the book. Her husband done these movies, and these movies are, if you like romance and you like action, they're good movies for that. But one thing is, this is actually an adult show for adults to watch on Outlander. I mean on Stars. So I think it might be sometime by the end of this close to this fall or next year when they'll do the next season. It's because after this pandemic happened, they had to postpone it. I'll show you the movie. I've got every complete season they've done. But I'll show you this movie. This one comes with special features and stuff that you can't get because I've got special editions. That's just what that looks like. There's and plus he's got a new show that he's doing. They're doing season 6, but I don't know if they're doing season 7 because he's doing a new show called Men in Kilts. It's also got another guy that's on there. His real first name is Sam. I don't know his last name, but I'd love to get his autograph. And the one that played his wife, Claire Fraser, and the one in the redhead that played their daughter, that played their teenage daughter in the show that also got married. See, there's actually the one that plays the wife. She's also was in the show was Claire Randall, and she can kind of travel through time back and forth a little bit. Got the book in it. That's the daughter, the adult daughter. And this was all made in Scotland. And then that's the one that married her daughter in the show. You'd have to watch every season. If you got Netflix, you'd really like it because they've got all 5 of them on there right now. But I'll show you the thing that's got all the books to them. That's actually all the books. And then that's all the seasons that they have. 2 of the books down at the bottom, one for knitting and one for the food that they did in this show, which is supposed to be traditional Scotland food. And then there's just other stuff that you can buy if you want it. And then you also get this with it, which is all the music that goes to the show. And that's all that, which I think you can actually listen to these on YouTube too. I wouldn't doubt it. But that's that. It says, an exclusive exception from Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone, Book 9 in the Outlander series, coming soon from Diane Gabaldon. So, that's the guy that makes the show's wife, Now, that guy right there, he has been on some American movies like Hallmark movies, and he was also in Bloodshot with Van Diesel. So he has done that, but he does originally come from Scotland, but he had to learn some of the old Gaelic language for the show. In the back here, it's got. I'm actually going to try to read in a Scotland accent. I don't know if it'll work. In the back, it's got a recipe to some what are they called? Some kind of flat cakes. Got a recipe to that, and then it's Johnny Cake's recipes, what it is. So they're actually Johnny Cake recipes. And then this is just how to knit that thing that she's wearing right there, if you're good at knitting, because that's another version of it. Instead of just buying it, if you're good at knitting, you can knit it. I'm gonna read this, I don't know if I read all of it, and I'll see how much there is to read. I don't want to make this video so long that it gets boring. I'll read some of it. There's some things in here that, Exceptions from Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone. I found you, Ian, not in his supper field, but in the woods near rifle and a hand. I don't shoot. I called, spotted him, spotting him through the brush. It's me. I couldn't mistake ye for anything. See the small beer or a large hug, auntie," he assured me as I pawed my way through a clump of dogwood toward him, and I denied what either one of those days. Finding how about a nice fat pair of gun runners, I explained as well as I could while Jack trotting and laying behind him as he detoured through the field in order to grab his synthetic which he thrust it into my hand. And I think you'll have to use it, auntie, he said, grinning as he looked at my face. But if ye stand before there blocking the trail, it would be a desperate man would have tried to go through ye. When we arrived, we discovered that the trail had already been effectively blocked by the first mule's burden, which he had succeeded in shedding completely when Ian and I showed up a little way below the gun runners. The first mule enjoyed his new lightness of spirit, with nimble climbing over the pile of bags, boxes, and wicker work toward us, intent on joining his fellow, who was not letting his own pack stop him from borrowing a large patch of blueberry brambles that edged the trail just there. Evidently we had arrived almost at the same time as Jimmy and Tom McLeod, for the two gunners had turned to talk at me and Ian just as Jimmy and Tom came into sight on the trail above them. "Who the devil are you?" one of the men demanded, looking from me to Ian in the bewilderment. Ian up had tied up his hair in a top knot to keep it out of the way while moving, and without his shirt, deeply tanned and tattooed, looked very like the Mohawk he was. I didn't want to think what I must look like, comprehensively disheveled and with my hair full of leaves and coming down, but I grappled my synthetic and gave them a stern look. "I'm Ian Olga Murray," Ian said mildly and nodded at me. "And that's my Auntie Oops." The first mule was nosing his way determinedly between us, causing us both to step out of the path. "I'm Ian Murray," Ian repeated, stepping back and bringing his rifle back into a relaxed but definitely ready position across his chest. And I said, a deep voice from above, "I'm Colonial James Fraser's Ridge, and that's my wife." He moved into sight, broad-shouldered and tall against the light, with Tom behind him, sunlight glinting off his rifle. "Catch that mule, will ye, Ian? This is my land, and who, may I ask, are you gentlemen?" The man jerked in surprise and wheeled to look upward through one cast an apprehensive glance over his shoulder to keep an eye on the threat to the rear. We're the young man, he couldn't be much more than 20, exchanged a penitent look with his older companion. "I am Lieutenant Lennox Summer, sir of His Majesty's ship Revenge." Tom made a noise that might have been either menace or amusement. "Who's your friend then?" he asked, nodding at the older gentleman who might have been anything from a town verdict to a backwoods hunter, who looked somewhat the worse for drink, his nose and cheeks webbed with broken caterpillars. "I believe his name is Burles, sir," the lieutenant said. "He is not my friend." His face had gone from a shock white to a prime pink. "He heard him in Salisbury to assist with my baggage." "I see," Jamie said politely. "Are ye perhaps lost, Lieutenant? I believe the nearest ocean is roughly 300 miles behind you." "I am on leave from my ship," the young man said, regaining his dignity. "I have come to visit someone." "No prize for guessing who," Tom said to Jamie, and lowered his rifle. What did he want to do with him, Jamie?" "My wife and I will take the lieutenant and his men down to the house for some refreshment," Jamie said, bowing gracefully. Cool, Summers, would ye maybe help Ian with it? He nodded toward the cars scattered among the rocks. And Ian once got things in hand. Go up and bring Captain Cunningham down to join us, will ye? Summers picked up the subtle difference between invite and bring, just as well as Ian did, and stiffened. But he had little choice. He did have a pistol and an officer's dirk in his belt, but I could see what the former wasn't primed, and therefore likely wasn't loaded either, and I doubted that he'd ever drawn his dirk with any motive beyond polished. Yet Jamie didn't even glance at the weapons, let alone ask for their surrender. I thank you, sir, Summers said, turned on his heels and shaving only slightly as he passed me, and my started down the trail, back stiff. It was nearly summertime when Captain Cunningham arrived, not quite in young Ian's custody, but definitely in his companion. Not that pleased about it. I'd unfortunately had time to wash, comb oak leaves and spruce needles out of my hair, and gently put myself to rights, while Jamie sat Lieutenant Summers and Mr. Bowles down in the parlor and offered them beer. Wallace accepted eagerly, Summers reluctantly, but they drank it. And now, 2 hours and 4 quarts of beer later, they were, if not happy, somewhat more relaxed. Who are those men? Fanny whispered to me, coming back to the kitchen after another beer delivery. They don't seem to like Mr. Fraser much. Friends of Captain Cunningham, I said. I think the captain will be joining them shortly. Do we have anything they can eat? Men are always easier to handle if their stomachs are full. That's true, she said, nodding sagely. A first-rate brothel, half, has a good cook, but you can't let a man eat too much if you want him to do anything. Mother Abbott said, if a man's belly sticks out so far that he can't see his cock, you'd best give him enough wine that he falls asleep, and then tell him he had a good time when he awakes. How about the game pie Miss Clemson sent down? I interpreted hastily. Is there any of that left? I told Fanny. She could tell me anything, I admitted, but I would occasionally still disconcerted by the vivid detail of her reluctance. The captain definitely had a lean and hungry look. Such men are dangerous, I murmured, watching as he strolled into the parlor, young Ian at his heels like a general wolf. Then I got a glimpse of Jamie rising to greet Cunningham, and thought he'd not the only one. I left Fanny together with the game pie and followed the men into the parlor, with a tray holding a bottle of JFS whiskey, a small pitcher of water, and five of our best glasses. These being heavy-bottomed, small glasses known as shot glasses, and they made a sound strongly resembling a pistol shot when slammed on the table following a toast. I hoped there could still be 5 of them after this little social gathering. Captain, I said, smiling pleasantly as I set the tree down. How nice to see you. He glared at me, but was too well bred to say what he was. Patiently thinking, I was sure whether my presence would make things better or worse, but Jamie cut his eyes briefly sideways, indicating that side presence wouldn't be required, so I curtsied to the assemble and walked down the hall to the kitchen, where I took my shoes off and crept back quietly into my stocking feet, much to Fanny's amusement. Well, that's all I'm gonna read. There's like 3, there's, 1, 2, 3. Well, I'll read the rest. I imagine my nephew told you the circumstance in which we encountered your acquaintance this afternoon, Jamie was saying. In a pleasant tone of voice there was a splashing sound and the cleaning of glasses. Circumstances Cunningham repeated sharply. Lieutenant Summers was a close friend of my late son. We have remained in correspondence since Thurker's death, and I hold Felix in the same regard as I would were he my son as well. I take considerable exception to your treatment of him as his servant, sir. I draw we ye, sir, Santa Martha, from my vantage spot. Flattened against the wall I could see Jamie, but I could see the captain, who looked startled as he replied to his statement. What, he said sharply, and looked down into his whiskey glasses. Though it might be poisoned. What do you say, sir? Santa Martha, Jamie repeated mildly. It means to your health. Oh, the captain looked at Summers, who by this point resembled a pig who had just been struck on the head with a mule. Yes, to your health, Mr. Fraser. Colonel Fraser, Ian putting hopefully. Santa Martha. The captain drew back his draw, swallowed and turned purple. Perhaps a bit of water, Captain. I saw Jamie's arm stretch out, pitcher in hand. It says to open the flavor of the whiskey, Ian. Ian took the pitcher and briskly mixed a fresh drink. Have water this time, for the captain, who took it, eyes watering. I repeat, sir, he said hoarsely, I take exception. Well, so do I, sir, Jamie said in the same ensemble tone, and I think any self-respecting man who do the same at discovering a material enterprise taking place under his nose upon his land without warning or notice deny not agree. I do not pretend to understand what you mean by a material enterprise. Colonel Cunningham had got hold of himself and sat up straight as a poker. Lieutenant Summers has had the kindness to bring me some supplies I had required from friends in the Navy. I did wonder, Ning, why an Englishman should choose Fraser's Bridge to settle, Jamie said, interpreting him, and why ye should have wanted land so far up the ridge for that matter, but of course your place is nae more than 10 miles from the Cherokee villages, isn't it? I am sure. I don't know, the captain said, but this has nothing to do. I was an Indian agent for some time, Janet, Jamie went on in the same mild tone, under Superintendent Johnson. I spent considerable time with the Cherokee, and they ken me for an honest man. I was not impugning your honesty. Colonel Fraser Cunningham sounded rather tasty, though it was obvious that this was news to him. I do take issue with your friend. You ken, I suppose, that the British government has been in cahoots with various Indians in the conduct of this war, encouraging them to attack settlements suspected of rebellious persuasions, providing them with guns and powder on occasion. No, sir, the captain's tone had changed. His vigilance slightly tinged now with weariness. I was not aware of that. Jamie and Ian both made polite Scottish noises indicating skepticism. Ye admit that ye do ken I am a rebel, Captain. You are fairly open about it, sir, Captain Cunningham snapped. He sat upright, fists clenched on his knees. I am Jamie, I agree. Ye make no secret of your own loyalties. Loyalty to king and country requires neither secrecy nor defiance, Colonial. I suppose that depends on whether that loyalty results in action that might be considered injuries to me and mine, Captain, my course or my cause or my family. We did it mean. Lieutenant Summers was beginning to be alarmed, stirred from his legacy by the rising tone of the conversation. He made an attempt to sit up straight, his round face earnest. We hasn't meaning to bring Indians down upon you, sir, so help me God. Mr. Summers, the captain, lifted a hand, and the lieutenant went red in his stubbornest. Alone I repeated that I make no secret of my Lord, that I preach them in public each Sunday before God and man. I've heard ye, Jamie said dryly, and you'll notice, I suppose, that I've made nae move to hinder ye doing so. I take no issue with your opinion. Speak as ye find, and let the devil listen. I blinked. He was angry, and I was beginning to let it show. Take all ye like, Captain, but I'll not appoint any action that threatens the rage. Lieutenant Summers made a small involuntary movement, and Captain Collins made a short, sharp movement that silenced him. You have my word, Colonel, he said between his teeth. There was a long moment of silence, and then I heard Jimmy take a deep breath. This succeeded by the pouring of whiskey. Then let us drink to the understanding between us, Captain, he said calmly, and I heard the breeze shifting and scrape of glass on wood as they all picked up their grounds to peace. Jimmy said, emptied his glass and slammed it on the table with a bang that startled Mr. Collins out of his torpor. What the hell was that? He sat up, staring brutally to and fro. They shooting at us with their own guns. The brief silence was broken by Jamie's guns. He said mildly, did you notice any guns, Ian, when ye packed up the captain's gear? No, Uncle Ian said in exactly the same tone. No guns. Well, that's all. Now you can leave in the comment section and let me know if the language does sound kind of Scottish if you want to. So I hope you like it. Peace out.